All right, welcome back to another video on the Game Time Sports podcast channel. Today we have a little bit of a different video. We have a little bit of a shorter video. We try to do these every once in a while, but in about a month we have the NFL draft. So we are going to start doing our mock drafts, but we aren't going to do the entire mock draft today. We're only going to do 8 picks, and then next week we'll do the next 8 picks, and then the next week, and then the next week. So over the next 4 weeks, we're gonna do our 32 picks, and today we have 1 through 8, and that's pretty much it. Just remember to follow us on all of our social medias on Game Time Sports Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and make sure you follow both of us. Our socials will be on the screen for the entirety of this video, and that's pretty much it. Jace, do you have anything to add before we begin?
Nope, let's get into it. Caden, who do you got going first overall?
So first overall, I think this is really what I mean. A lot of people are gonna agree with this. I would say I'm saying Caleb Williams from USC is gonna go to the Bears, the former Heisman winner. I think he's the best player, best quarterback in the draft, and I think he would be the best quarterback in the draft if he was drafted last year. If he was drafted
Yeah.
next year, I think he would still be the best quarterback in the draft because he's just so unbelievably talented. He's like, I know he hasn't played a single snap in the NFL, but stuff he's doing in college is stuff that we see from Patrick Mahomes, extending the play, throwing off platform. Those are the type of things you need to be able to do to be a star quarterback in the NFL, like in today's game. And he does that at such a high level all the time. And it's just I feel like with the weapons that the Bears have added this offseason and that they already had, I think he'll do pretty well over there.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. My first overall pick will be Caleb Williams as well. I don't really see them trading for any particular reason. I don't think anyone's going to be able to give them a good enough haul other than a team would be willing to trade maybe two or three, even more draft picks that are great draft picks. I just don't see it happening. I think the Bears are going to get their guy here.
Yeah, I agree. I think they will get their guy here because I think he's more. I would say Kale Williams is more talented than Justin Fields, more like
Yeah.
talent and athleticism and extending plays. Justin Fields can't extend plays to save his life.
And it,
He just takes
yeah.
outrageous sacks.
Yeah, and something I want to add is people who wanted to keep Justin Fields don't understand this part. Why the Bears traded him is because they're going to have to pay him soon if they wanted to keep him around. Caleb Williams is going to be cheaper, younger, and we know that he hasn't reached his potential yet. Justin Fields showed next to no progress from second year to third year. Like the difference between year two Justin Fields and year three was none every year, even with young quarterbacks, even ones that, still really aren't that great or ones that are already really good. Like next year, I would assume we'd see a little bit change with CJ Stroud, whether it be his play style a little bit or his numbers, maybe. But it's just how quarterbacks work, and he just could not do that.
Yeah, and Caleb Williams could potentially be one of the most talented players we've ever seen if he plays up to the hype. We don't know if that's going to happen because obviously Johnny Manziel, he had all this hype coming out of college
Yeah.
and it didn't work out. Tim Tebow, it didn't work out. But he could potentially be one of the best players ever. And if the Bears were to pass up on that and keep Justin Fields and he goes to, let's say, the Commanders right behind, and he ends up being this great athlete that we all think that he will be, and the Bears missed out on that, and they still have this bum Justin Fields that they're paying all this money, really there's a huge upside to having Justin Fields, but you're not paying him very much because he's a rookie. And so if it doesn't work
Yeah.
out, then just move on. And it's not like you skipped that risk and pay Justin Fields millions of dollars for him just to suck every year. So
Yeah.
it's high risk. It's high risk with a high reward, if that's how that makes sense. All right. So who do you have going number two?
Number two overall, I think it's going to be a pretty obvious choice for the Washington Commanders, as it should be at least. Drake May. I mean, this guy's a great playmaker, kind of like Caleb Williams a little bit. I like him. He put up a ton of points in that North Carolina offense. He's got a rocket arm, great athleticism, mobility's really good. His accuracy's pinpoint. I mean, he's just kind of like Caleb Williams, but just not nearly as good. I think he's a great quarterback prospect, and I think he's going to lead the Commanders to probably 6 or 7 wins next year, even though the roster is still not good.
Yeah, I definitely I do also I say Drake May as well from UNC to go to the Commanders. I think that he's an amazing quarterback prospect coming out of UNC, and he's got that big arm, and we all know he's going to be able to connect well with Terry McLaurin over
Oh
there,
yeah,
which he's going to be the best quarterback Terry McLaurin's ever played with in the years that he's been there. He's never played with a good quarterback like him. And so if he's able to come out there and play like he has in college, I think they're going to have a great connection. I think it's going to be great. I think he's going to want to go there because of having such a great receiver like like Terry McLaurin. And
yeah.
again, the Commanders have a whole bunch of cap space. They have so much money to spend and try to build and help that team out. So I think it'll be good to get your young quarterback right here in the draft, and I just think it'd be a really good pick for them. I know we'll talk about Jaden Daniels later, but just the reason I think that I just feel like Drake may be a better option for them. All right, so who do you got going third?
Third overall, I have a mock trade. I think that the Vikings are going to trade up with the New England Patriots and select their quarterback of the future, JJ McCarthy. Now, I'm going to say this right now before some of you flame me, which I know you will. This mock draft isn't necessarily saying what I think the teams should do. It's more so what we think they will do. And I think this is probably a really good possibility. We saw the Vikings make that trade with the Texans for a first round draft pick. And I really do like this trade for the Patriots because, it's why the Dolphins got some really good players. They traded down from 3 to still a pretty high pick and were able to build a really good team. And I think that the Vikings are going to make a mistake with this move, but JJ McCarthy is not better than Jaden Daniels. Heck, I don't even know if he's better than Bo Nix or Michael Penix. I mean, he's a game manager. I'm a huge, huge Michigan fan. I've watched every game of his the last couple of years, and he doesn't stick out to me as some great NFL level quarterback. I think he'd be decent maybe with a really good receiving core in Minnesota, yes, but he's not going to lead them to anything like amazing, like a 12-win season or like a Super Bowl appearance or a rookie of the year. It's just not going to happen with his limited skill set. I think it would be a good decision to maybe trade up for
Well,
Jaden Daniels, but I just don't like
well,
JJ McCarthy like that.
Well, people act like JJ McCarthy was some like Heisman winner and some incredible like out of this world athlete when he had the number one defense and the number one run game in the country and basically
Number
cruised to
one
a national
coach too.
championship.
I mean,
Yeah,
he
and
had it
number one
all.
coach. He had everything he could ever ask for. I mean, you really just had to hand the ball off, because the Michigan Wolverines had two like 45 plus yard touchdowns on the ground in that game. And so, I mean, with having such a good run game, such a good defense, and having such a good or head coach and stuff, and needing that to succeed, really is really isn't going to work out because you're not going to get that in Minnesota. You're not going to get the best defense in the league and best head coach and the best run game. I mean, I don't even know what Minnesota has a lot of problems, not problems, but a lot of things to figure out. But we'll talk about the Vikings another
Yeah.
day. Point is that McCarthy's not going there, or he shouldn't go there. All right, so third, I think the Patriots will stay at number 3. I think they're going to get Jaden Daniels coming off
The
of
right decision. The right decision.
Yeah, coming off of the Heisman Trophy season, I just think that they need a quarterback. We've seen these teams try and do these rent a quarterback situations, and it hasn't worked out. Russell Wilson, big deal in the for the Broncos, and that didn't work at all. That was the worst trade I've ever seen. And then Deshaun Watson, big trade, big contract with the Browns. So far has not worked out. He's probably the worst quarterback in the AFC. And then we've seen the Colts do it for the last like 8 years after Andrew Luck retired with Jacoby Brissett and Matt Ryan and all these guys. And they finally got their young quarterback, which I think is going to work out for them with Anthony Richardson. But
It
then
took him 5 years. Is the
it
thing.
took them a while because then they realized that doesn't work. And then
Yeah.
and then like the Commanders because they did Ryan Fitzpatrick and
Yeah.
then Taylor Heineke and then Carson Wentz and
And
it's
then
just
throwing in a fifth round draft pick who his draft stock lowered from second overall, potentially at the start of the 2021 college football season, to the fifth round. There is a reason why that happened. The dude threw 20 interceptions. He sucked.
yeah. So they and then they have Bailey Zappi who also we've seen hasn't played very well in the playoff or not playoffs in any game in general and and obviously they got rid of Mac Jones and so this is just the time to go and
Yeah.
experiment with a young quarterback. And we've said earlier about money with Caleb Williams and Justin Fields. The Patriots don't need to go out and spend a bunch of money to trade or to
No.
sign a new quarterback that you don't know is going to be good, but you're paying them all this money, so you have to play him or you have to give in with drafting. Oh my god, with I can't speak. With drafting Jaden Daniels, you get what we've seen to be a great quarterback and you have to pay him $30 million a year. And I mean, if he doesn't work out, just move on. It isn't. It's not like you're in this
Yeah.
huge long situation you can't get out of. Like the Broncos. The Broncos are now. What do they have? Like 60 million in dead cap the next 2 years.
Oh yeah, they're not going to be good for a long time. I wouldn't be surprised if they have the first overall pick next year. That's a bad team.
It's awful. All right, fourth overall. So Marvin Harrison Jr. So some people had him going like 1 or 2, but I think that he'll move down to the Cardinals because obviously the Cardinals don't need a quarterback. We know this. Kyler Murray, we know he came off of the ACL last year. He still played very well. He's still young. He's still athletic. He's still very, very talented. So I think they're going to go for Marvin Harrison Jr. I think they need to get more weapons on offense. They had quite a few weapons like 3 or 4 years ago, but now they're all gone. And I mean, they
Yeah.
traded away Rondale Moore. They got rid of DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously, they don't have much when it comes to the receiver position. So I think getting an athlete like him would be really good. One that also really good for Kyler Murray's playmaking ability. He's really good at that. And then you bring in a really good receiver that Marvin Harrison, and they get a really good connection. I think that they could do really good things together.
Yeah, certainly. I have Marvin Harrison Jr. going fourth overall too. And I mean, we saw they lost Hollywood Brown. They already didn't have a very good receiver room in the first place. And their offense just straight up has a lot of bad players and holes that they need to fix. And realistically, this doesn't make them like any playoff team or even an okay team, like a 6, 7, 8 win team. They're still going to be pretty bad next year, I would assume, but it definitely does catapult the rebuild into another realm. And I think maybe a couple more years of good draft picks, and this team could be on the right track.
I agree. I think it's a good starting point for the Cardinals. Get some firepower on offense because then you get more people to want to watch you and stuff, and you're gonna get more people coming to games to make more money, and then you can, and then I mean they are gonna what's their cap situation? I think they doing good.
They have an all right cap situation. Obviously, the Kyler Murray contract does definitely hurt them a little bit at times, but for the most part, they're all right.
Yeah, so maybe here in the next few years we'll see them make some big whatever. We'll see. All right. So who do you got going fifth?
Fifth overall pick, I think that the Los Angeles Chargers will select Brock Bowers, tight end out of the University of Georgia. This team has a ton of needs. They have a really bad roster right now. Great coach, great quarterback. Getting a guy who's considered a generational tight end prospect, probably the best since Kyle Pitts, definitely. I think this is a guy who you can't miss out on because he's kind of like a sixth lineman. I mean, he's really good at run blocking. He's going to help you out in the passing game. I mean, we saw this dude be an all American level talent as a freshman in college in the SEC, going up against the toughest opponents in the country. He's been the best tight end in the nation all 3 years in college. Even with injury, he was still playing phenomenal. I just don't think you can pass up on him. Maybe Brock Bowers, maybe someone like Joe Alt, if you want, or excuse me, Malik Neighbors, not Brock Bowers. But yeah, like Malik Neighbors, Joe Alt, possibly. But I mean, Brock Bowers would just give Justin Herbert a huge safety blanket and a sixth lineman at times.
Yeah, and to touch on what you said about him as a freshman being an All-American and playing the SEC and stuff, when I was watching SEC Georgia games back in whatever it was 3 years ago, it was him as a freshman. And I see this guy playing, and I'm like, this guy's got to be a senior. This guy's bigger than everybody else. Nobody can tackle him. He's making defenders miss like he's a running back and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And turns out and find out that he's a freshman, and I'm like, this guy's a freshman, and he's like tearing defenses apart and going for 75-yard touchdowns as a freshman. Because usually when tight ends make it to college, that's before they have, become big, gigantic, strong, like athletes and stuff. So you usually see them progress a lot from like, because like when tight ends come out of college, you or not college, out of high school, they usually, not all the time, but a lot of the time don't go to these, get offers from these big gigantic schools because they haven't, reached their full potential yet. And he wasn't even at his full potential yet because he's gotten much better, but he came into college bigger than everybody else. And that doesn't happen very often. And he's just such a talented athlete. But I'm rambling here. Let me move on. But so my number 5 pick to go to the Chargers is Malik Neighbors. I think. I mean, you said his name in there a little bit ago. I think that he'd be really good for them because they got rid of all their offensive weapons. They don't have anything left. Everett's gone. Mike Williams is gone. Austin Eckler's gone. Keenan Allen's gone. I think if you add him to that team, that would be good because Josh Palmer, he's not horrible. I wouldn't say he's the number one, but he's not horrible. And then Quentin Johnston, we saw that was not going good for them. So I think you add Malik Neighbors in that offense with a great quarterback like Justin Herbert. You get him a young star receiver, and I think great things could happen. Who do you got at 6?
Well, speaking of Malik Neighbors, I think it's who the Giants are going to take. I'm pretty sure at this point you could add me and you to the offense of the New York Giants, and they'd probably get 10 times better. That offense is a disaster. I mean, they didn't do good at all last year with an offensive-minded coach in Brian Daboll. Daniel Jones is a terrible quarterback. They have no run game. Our line sucks. The receiving core is full of no names. They got an old washed up Darren Waller, and their backup tight end is okay. Really, any offensive player here works, in my opinion, but I feel like you have to have someone to throw the ball to, or Daniel Jones will not even have a somewhat respectable season at best. I think this could definitely help elevate the offense a lot. Malik Neighbors is a big playmaker, and I think he would do great things under Brian Daboll and his system. Give me Malik Neighbors to go to the Giants with the 6th overall pick. Who do you got going 6, Caden?
So I mostly agree with you. I have Keon Coleman from FSU going to the Giants because they need whatever they can get. Offensively, they have nothing going for them. Defensively, it's much better. They can work with that, right? But offensively, they have nothing. They have no offensive weapons at all. They have a 95-year-old Darren Waller, and they have no receivers. They have a bunch of people nobody's ever heard of. At running back, they had Saquon Barkley. They don't have Saquon Barkley anymore. So then now they have more nobodies at running back. And so just getting a game changer like Keon Coleman on that offense could really help out them a lot, a ton, because one, you have a star receiver, and that can help out with Daniel Jones, who is not great at all. So that would help out a like him. Like it's like whenever just Stephon Diggs went to the Bills, Josh Allen was awful. Before Stephon Diggs got there, Josh Allen was absolutely awful. So many problems. And Stephon Diggs got there and he turned Josh Allen into one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And to this day, Josh Allen's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And you can obviously, I mean, most of that's on him because of him, how hard he's worked. But part of that, you can put that to Stephon Diggs because of how great an athlete he is and how much he elevated his quarterback to play great. And before Stephon Diggs got there, I mean, I don't know who their star number one receiver was, but clear wasn't great because Josh Allen could not hit him. But yeah, all right. Seventh, Titans. I think they're going to take Joe Alt, offensive lineman from Notre Dame. I think that they will take him because they need offensive line. Their offense is pretty darn good besides their offensive line. I mean, they have at receiver, I mean, they have DeAndre Hopkins. They just signed Calvin Ridley. And then they have Traylon Burks. And then at running back, Tony Pollard and stuff. And you have, well, I mean, Tony Pollard, I mean, isn't anything great, but I mean, he's still an okay back. If they use him well, which they might be able to with an offensive minded head coach, I think that they could use them pretty well because he was not used well this year in Dallas, so that he wasn't really. I don't know. He's not a between the tackles back. He's a guy you get the ball to in space. You throw the ball to him. You toss him and let him run out left, run out right. That's what you do with him. You don't let him run up between the tackles because that's not who he is. But whatever. Point is that they need to build up the offensive line to protect their young quarterback. And Will Levis, he was spectacular in the games that he played last year. I mean, especially in that Miami game, came back down from 2 scores with like 4 minutes left. Incredible. So I think that would be the best move for them, honestly. Who you got going seven?
Yeah, I got the same pick, Joe Alt. Titans have a horrible offensive line. Their defense already isn't that good, but they have made this team's made a lot of additions this offseason, and it's really high reward, low risk. You don't have expectations in the first place. No one thinks they're going to make the playoffs. If they don't do that good with this roster and it kind of falls apart and they're still rebuilding, oh, okay. We didn't expect much out of you guys anyways, and it's fine. But they're really going all in, and I think this team definitely could win some games, especially if they beef up that bad offensive line. I mean, seriously, they probably have one of the worst O lines in the league.
Yeah, I agree. And they're in quite a weak division, I would say. One
And
one of the weakest besides the Texans are probably gonna win that division. But I mean like the Jags, I mean, not looking great. And then,
Colts,
the
I had really high hopes for them heading into the offseason, but my hopes have gone down a lot due to the fact that they've done practically nothing.
yeah, the Colts again haven't done much, and then their quarterback's coming off of a season-ending
Oh, Anthony
injury.
Richardson, he's going to be great, but that team is not.
Yeah, I think I do. Yeah, I think he'll be great, but I just don't know how that whole entire team is going to end up. And then the Jags obviously coming off of that, and I don't even know what to do with them because I mean they were promoting ticket sales for the playoffs and halfway through the year and didn't even make the playoffs. So whatever. I think that they could definitely, if these draft picks pan out and if these signed players pan out, that they could end up second in the division. They could. The possibility is there. I don't think they'll win it because I think the Texans, unless CJ Stroud has some huge regressing, I think that I think the Texans are definitely going to win that division. It's not going to be close. But moving on, eight last pick we got. Who do you got going eighth?
Eighth overall, Dallas Turner to the Falcons. They need pass rush really bad. Defense overall, they ranked 11th in the league. Had a really good defense and an offensive minded coach. They're great in the passing game, rushing game overall. However, they were 22nd in the league in sacks. And for 11th best defense, it's something you don't see too often. And really adding a young rookie like Dallas Turner who can develop and just get even better and also create immediate pressure in the league is, I mean, this team's going to try and win the Super Bowl in the next 1 or 2 years. That's what their plan seems to be right now. And with a defensive minded coach, this could be a lethal team and really could bolster them into maybe even a top 5 defense. I mean, this really could be a huge move for them.
Yeah, and speaking of weak divisions, like I was just talking about, the NFC South is definitely the weakest
Oh yeah,
division
they're
in football.
bad.
It's not even close.
Three
But
pretty bad teams. The Bucks are all right.
Yeah, so it's gonna be between. I think it's between the Bucks and the Falcons win that division. The Falcons, I think they're gonna take Dallas Turner as well. I think that they on offense they have a lot of weapons on offense, and if they can start with their new head coach, start using Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson, they may have one of the highest scoring offenses in football. And defensively, they don't have a bad defense. Like you said, they're 11th overall defense. In the secondary, they're pretty good with AJ Terrell and Jesse Bates. They're doing pretty good over there. And like you said, getting pressure was a problem. And you if you can't get pressure, your secondary can't guard forever. You can't guard for 10, you can't guard for 6, 8, 10, 9, 10 seconds. You can't do that. You need if you're like we saw in Kansas City, this is a prime example. Great secondary. They can lock down all these receivers and they get pressure. So that makes it even better, because these receivers are open and then you're making quarterbacks throw on the run. You're making them throw off their back foot. You're trying to make them have to make all these crazy throws. And if you're not getting pressure, you just run around and then let people get open and and then you can continue. But if you have everything working, then I mean, you can get insane.
Yeah.
You can become an insane defense.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, kid.
All right. So that will bring us to the end of the video. We will have 9 through 16 next week. And yeah, so just remember to like, comment, subscribe, follow us on all of our social medias all over the place. They're on the screen right now. And we will catch you in the real podcast episode tomorrow. Peace out.